When Postman Bob heard a woman scream from the Wilson house, he didn't give the normal response. Instead of calling police, he entered through the back door in 15 seconds and took down the rapist in 8 seconds. The victim asked in shock, "Who are you?" Bob calmly said, "I'm your postman." But when police arrived, they saw the attacker bound with professional restraint techniques. That day, the town learned the man who had lived among them for 25 years was a former CIA operation expert. Welcome to Stories of Honor. Before we begin this powerful story of hidden identity, unexpected heroism, and a protective legend, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these stories alive. Millbrook was a quiet American town with a population of 8,500. Old brick buildings on Main Street, a post office on the corner, a children's playground in the Central Park. Typical small-town atmosphere. Everyone knew everyone. Crime rate was low. The biggest incident was teenagers making noise in the parking lot on weekends. Robert Bob Miller had been the town's postman for 25 years. 62 years old, medium height, gray hair neatly cut, always clean-shaven. His blue postal uniform was ironed every morning, shoes polished, mailbag organized. He was a perfect example of a federal employee. Bob's routine operated with mathematical precision. Every morning at 7 o'clock, he left the post office, following the same route. First stop was the shops on Main Street, then the detached houses on Oak Avenue. In the afternoon, the apartments on Elm Street. Same order, same time, same efficiency for 25 years. The townspeople loved Bob. He was reliable, punctual, polite. Never got sick, never late, never lost mail. He would bring medicine packages right to elderly Mrs. Patterson's door. He would help young mothers carry heavy packages. Perfect neighbor, perfect employee. But no one had wondered about Bob's past, where he came from, why he chose Millbrook, whether he had family. These questions were never asked. He was just Postman Bob, an invisible part of the town's daily life. During Bob's daily routine, his observation skills were very different from a normal postman. As he passed each house, he would note whether window curtains were open or closed, which cars were parked in garages, which houses had lights on. Unusual sounds. He passed the Wilson house every day at 10:15 a.m. The homeowner, David Wilson, 45, accountant, lived with his wife Jennifer and 2 children. Under normal circumstances, Jennifer would be home, children at school, David at the office. That Tuesday morning, when Bob came to the Wilson house, he noticed the first anomaly. Jennifer's car wasn't in the garage, but there were lights on inside the house. Strange. Jennifer normally went shopping on Tuesday mornings and would turn off the lights. As Bob put the mail in the mailbox, he noticed the second anomaly. The backyard gate was ajar. The Wilson family were very careful about security. They never left doors open. A normal postman would notice these details, but wouldn't care. Bob was different. These anomalies were like alarm bells for him. Surveillance techniques learned over years enabled him to automatically detect danger signals. Bob walked slowly around the house. There were footprints in the front yard, fresh, large boot prints. Not David's. He wore sneakers. A stranger's prints. He turned his ear toward the house. There was sound coming from inside. Abnormal sound, struggle sound, and then, woman's scream. Normal protocol was clear. Call 911. Wait for police. Don't intervene. As a federal employee, Bob knew these rules. But at that moment, Jennifer Wilson's life could be in danger. Bob quickly calculated in his head. Millbrook Police Department was small. There were 2 patrol cars, both currently at the other end of town. Response time would be minimum 8 minutes. 8 minutes was too long. A second scream came from inside. This time louder, more panicked. Bob made his decision. It was time to reveal the true identity he had hidden for 25 years. He put his mailbag on the ground. From a hidden pocket inside his jacket, He took out a small set. It was a lockpick set. Tools he had carried for 25 years. Never used, but kept ready. He approached the back door, opened the lock in 15 seconds, silently pushed the door, and entered. Years of operational training automatically kicked in. Silent steps. Control breathing. Scan environment. Every movement calculated, every sound minimal. Ghost mode. When Bob entered the kitchen, he assessed the situation. Sounds were coming from the living room. Male voice, "Don't scream, it'll get worse." Female voice, Jennifer, crying and trying to resist. Bob approached the living room. He looked around the corner. A masked man had pushed Jennifer onto the couch. Jennifer's blouse buttons were torn. She was in panic. The attacker was standing over Jennifer, his back to Bob. Perfect position. Bob retrieved operational procedures from memory. Silent takedown, minimize injury to victim, neutralize threat. Bob silently entered the living room. 3 steps. The attacker hadn't noticed yet. 2 steps. Jennifer saw Bob, her eyes hopeful. 1 step. Bob approached from behind the attacker. His left hand covered the man's mouth, cutting off sound. His right hand applied pressure to neck arteries, blood choke technique. The man resisted, but it was too late. 8 seconds later, the attacker passed out. Bob pulled him off Jennifer, laid him on the floor. Professional zip tie to bind his hands behind his back. One of the tools Bob always kept in his bag. Jennifer was looking in shock. Who are you?" Bob answered calmly, "I'm your postman, Mrs. Wilson. You're safe now." Bob brought Jennifer a blanket and calmed her down. Then he called 911. 911, what's your emergency?" "There was an attempted rape at the Wilson house. Suspect has been neutralized. Send ambulance and police." "Who are you, sir?" "Postman Robert Miller. I witnessed the incident and intervened." The dispatcher was surprised. Postmen weren't expected to intervene like this. 5 minutes later, Sheriff Tom Bradley and Deputy Sarah Collins from Millbrook Police Department arrived. Sheriff Bradley was a 20-year experienced cop, but he hadn't seen such a scene. The attacker was still unconscious, bound with professional zip ties. Jennifer was safe. Bob was sitting calmly. "Mr. Miller, can you tell us what happened?" Sheriff Bradley asked. Bob simply told the story. Heard scream, entered, stopped attacker, kept details minimal. "How did you get inside?" "Back door was open." Sheriff Bradley looked at Bob. Normal postmen wouldn't act like this, wouldn't be this calm, wouldn't make such professional intervention. "Mr. Miller, do you have previous military experience?" Bob hesitated. "Yes. Long time ago." "Which branch?" "Various duties." Vague answer. Sheriff Bradley didn't ask more but made mental note. News spread like lightning through the town. Postman Bob had prevented attempted rape, saved Jennifer Wilson. The town was in shock and admiration. At the cafe on Main Street, everyone was talking about Bob. "I've known Bob for 25 years. Thought he was quiet, harmless guy. How did he move so fast? How did he beat that guy?" When police arrived, attacker was already bound professionally. This isn't normal. Local newspaper editor Janet Harper put the story on the front page of the town newspaper. "Town hero, our postman saved woman." But Janet was a curious journalist. She decided to research Bob's past. What could she find in public records? She researched using Bob's SSN. Interesting findings. Robert Miller had settled in Millbrook in 1985. No records before then, as if life had started in 1985. Janet went deeper. Employment history, only postal service. Education, unclear. Military service, classified. Strange. Janet Harper was a journalist with 25 years' experience. She smelled a story. There was very little public information about Bob Miller. This was almost impossible in modern America. Janet called her friend Michael Torres, a former FBI contact. Michael was a retired FBI agent doing security consulting in Washington. "Michael, can you research someone for me?" "Robert Miller. Millbrook postman. What kind of research? Background check. Very little info in public records. Suspicious. Michael called back 2 days later. His voice was serious. Janet, don't ask questions about this man. Why? His file is classified. Very classified. I can't even access details. So he really has a secret past? Janet, listen to me. Don't pursue this story. Don't write about this man. Some people don't want to be found. Janet's curiosity increased even more. But Michael's warning was serious. When Bob returned home that evening, he knew there was a risk of the secret he had kept for 25 years being exposed. He opened the secret compartment in the basement. Inside were old CIA operation files, fake identities, and emergency escape plans. His real name was Robert William Martinez. He had worked for CIA from 1960 to 1985. Special Operations Division, South America, Middle East, Eastern Europe, classified missions. In 1985, during a covert operation, his identity had been blown. CIA had offered him new identity and protection program, starting new life as Robert Miller in Millbrook. For 25 years, he had maintained perfect cover. Ordinary postman. No one had suspected until today. Bob opened his laptop and sent an encrypted message to his old contact. He was giving situation report to his handler in Washington. Cover potentially compromised. Local incident required operational intervention, requesting guidance. Reply came 2 hours later. Maintain cover. Monitor situation, extraction available if necessary. Bob's dilemma was simple. Continue staying in Millbrook and take risk, or abandon his 25-year life and escape. The following week, a second incident occurred in Millbrook, this time more serious. Janet Harper had gone out for evening jog. While passing through the park, she heard car engine behind her. Car slowed down, Janet sped up. Car sped up too. Janet started running. Car was following her. She ran toward Main Street, but car cut her off. 2 masked men got out. Are you Janet Harper? No, wrong person. Aren't you that journalist? The one asking questions about Bob Miller? Janet's heart stopped. How had these men reached her? At that moment, Bob was returning from evening walk. He saw commotion in the park. Recognized Janet's voice. Bob immediately went to tactical mode. 25 years of training kicked in. This time he didn't have the luxury of protecting secret identity. He approached 2 masked men. Silently from behind. Gentlemen, you're messing with the wrong person. The men turned. They saw Bob, 62-year-old postman. Get out of here, old man. This doesn't concern you. Bob smiled. Actually, this concerns me very much. First attacker made move on Bob. Bob's response was 25 years of reflection. Elbow strike to solar plexus, knee to sternum, choke hold. 10 seconds later, man collapsed to ground. Second attacker pulled out gun, but Bob was already moving. Disarm technique, weapon retention, counterattack. Gun was in Bob's hand, man passed out. Janet was watching in shock. Postman Bob had neutralized 2 professional thugs in 30 seconds. Mr. Miller, how did you? Bob looked at Janet. There was nothing left to hide. Janet, you want to hear the real story, don't you? Yes. My name is Robert Martinez, former CIA operation expert. I retired 25 years ago and settled in Millbrook. New identity, new life. Why here? Because sometimes the safest place is where nobody thinks to look. Postman was perfect cover. Who are these men? Professional contractors, probably looking for me. Old enemies, revenge seekers. CIA operatives' life never really ends. Bob protected Janet until police arrived. 2 attackers were bound with professional zip ties. When Sheriff Bradley arrived, he saw the scene and understood. This was second time Bob wasn't displaying normal postman behavior. Mr. Miller, this time I want the truth. Who are you? Bob made decision. Truth time. Sheriff, my name is Robert Martinez, 1960 to 1985, CIA operation expert. Classified missions, covert operations. I retired in 1985 and was placed in Millbrook through Witness Protection Program. Sheriff Bradley sat down in chair. 20 years as cop, but first time hearing something like this. Why is it coming out now? These men found me. Janet's research might have drawn attention, or other reasons. What happens now? My CIA contacts will offer relocation, but I want to stay here. Millbrook has become my home. Janet asked, didn't anyone suspect for 25 years? I maintain perfect cover. Ordinary postman. Routine, predictable, boring. Nobody looks twice. But now everyone will know. Yes, new phase begins. Next day, town learned Bob's real identity. Reaction was mixed. Some people shocked, some proud, some worried. Town hall meeting was organized. Bob wanted to explain to community, I lied to you for 25 years. I apologize. But I was honored to serve you every day. Mrs. Patterson, 85 years old, stood up. Bob, you brought my mail for 25 years, carried my medicines, came even in snowstorms. I don't care who you are. You're our Bob. Applause. Town was accepting Bob. Sheriff Bradley made public announcement. Robert Martinez is appointed as honorary deputy of our town. Janet Harper wrote the story, but removed sensitive details for Bob's safety. Headline: Our Guardian Angel, Postman's Secret Service. Bob retired from postal service, but stayed in Millbrook. Now worked as private security consultant. He was town's unofficial protector. He converted his house to small security operations center. CCTV monitoring, emergency response, community watch programs. Started giving training to young police officers. Real-world tactics, survival skills, threat assessment. Janet Harper started working at regional newspaper. Bob's story had given her career boost. Jennifer Wilson wrote, "Thank you letter to Bob. You saved my life and my family's honor. Millbrook is lucky to have you." Bob no longer maintained secret identity, but still modest, still helpful, still community-focused. Kids called him Secret Agent Bob. Bob would laugh, ex-secret agent, now just your neighbor. This story teaches us, real heroes can be anywhere. For 25 years, Bob appeared to be ordinary postman. But in critical moments, true identity emerged. Protection doesn't only come from government agencies. Sometimes it comes from your neighbors, your community. Bob protected Millbrook for 25 years, silently, invisibly. Most important lesson, don't underestimate anyone. Your mailman, your teacher, your librarian. All can have extraordinary past. Respect everyone, because everyone has story. And sometimes that story can save your life. There are silent heroes around us. People like Bob protect community with quiet service. It's our responsibility to appreciate them. Have you ever received extraordinary help from someone who seemed ordinary? Have you seen protection from unexpected places? Share in comments. If this story touched you, subscribe to Stories of Honor. We'll continue telling stories of hidden heroes. See you in next story. Until then, show respect to ordinary people around you. Because person protecting you might be legendary warrior disguised as your neighbor.